It struck me as very remarkable that abolitionists who felt so keenly the wrongs of the slave should be so oblivious to the equal wrongs of their own mothers, wives, and sisters.
In recruiting women to its cause, the abolition movement had awakened a sleeping giant.
Women's rights emerges within anti-slavery because the anti-slavery movement was fueled very strongly by religious convictions. They were coming from a higher authority than that of ministers or other authorities in the society. So when those authorities told them, "You are women, you cannot be speaking in public," they overrode that and insisted on their right to speak.
In 1840, when the female delegates to the World Anti-Slavery Convention in London were not permitted to take their seats, two women decided they'd had enough.
Lucretia Mott was really the first to advocate women's rights. Elizabeth Cady Stanton represented a younger generation's entrance into this reform movement. And the two of them together, Lucretia Mott bringing the religious affiliation of the older generation, Elizabeth Cady Stanton bringing a more secular view, together were a powerful combination.
In 1848, they met again, this time in upstate New York. Stanton had recently moved to Seneca Falls.
When she moved to Seneca Falls in upstate New York, out of Boston, she was not feeling thrilled with the move. And when Lucretia Mott came and visited nearby, Elizabeth Cady Stanton went and poured her heart out to Lucretia Mott about her troubles, and they decided they would have a convention to speak about the rights of women. Now, this action on their part in 1848 immediately created the Seneca Falls Convention that produced a Declaration of Women's Rights.
On July 19th and 20th, a crowd of about 300, including 40 men, filled the Wesleyan Chapel in Seneca Falls to hear what the women had to say.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights.
Oh, there's no doubt that it was the beginning of the women's rights movement as an independent movement.
The Declaration of Sentiments was a revolutionary document. It asserted that woman was man's equal, that God had intended for women to participate in public life as fully as men, that no trade or profession, including that of preacher, should be closed to women, and that women should seek the right to vote. This last resolution was very controversial. But at the end of the convention, 100 men and women affixed their signatures to the Declaration of Sentiments. The reaction of the press was hostile. One writer pronounced it the most shocking and unnatural incident ever recorded in the history of womanity. In spite of the criticism, the movement for women's rights quickly gained momentum. Women agitated against the legal subordination of married women to their husbands, for the right to keep their own property and wages, and for the right to vote. They even promoted dress reform by wearing a shocking outfit known as bloomers.
It's also interesting to know that that convention was the first of many that were held in the next 10 years. So there were conventions in Buffalo, Rochester, around the state of New York, in which issues pertaining to women's rights were seriously discussed and debated.
Some male abolitionists tried to discourage women from pursuing the work of women's rights, arguing that it would distract them from the more important work of abolishing slavery. But female abolitionists saw the connection between slavery and the oppression of women, and brought both issues together in their speeches. Perhaps nothing represented both causes so well as the words attributed to a former slave who had taken the name of Sojourner Truth.
That man over there say that woman need to be helped into carriages and lifted over ditches and to have the best place everywhere. Nobody ever helps me into carriages or over mud puddles or gives me any best place. And aren't I a woman? I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could head me. And aren't I a woman? I could work as much and eat as much as a man when I could get it, and bear the lash as well. And aren't I a woman?